Hi, welcome to the Book Corner with me, Mich Atagana. Let's discover new worlds together. Hello and welcome back to the Book Corner with Mich Atagana. I'm your host, Mich. Today we are delving into a captivating reimagining of a classical myth or legend. It is the book called The Legend of Meneka. So, The Legend of Meneka, as you can see, this book came out at the beginning of this year. It is by Kritika. I think that's how you say her name. I'm so sorry if I've butchered it. I apologize. It literally is like a book that is a stunning blend of like ancient legend, modern storytelling. It's rich with complex emotional journeys, deeply compelling characters, and a narrative that explores the struggle between duty and desire. Like seriously, if you love gods and mortals and the games they play together, if you love forbidden romance and just kind of stories that just brim with celestial intrigue, this is definitely the episode for you to stick around for. Um, so I got into Legend of Meneka because I wanted to really expand my reading of, well, firstly, writers of like color and women. And I also wanted to explore stories that are beyond just your traditional Western or African mythologies that span other cultures. I've been reading some Asian mythology with The Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin Tan. But while I was researching, just looking for upcoming books that would be interesting by authors of color that explore, non Western mythologies, this book popped up. And it's based on like Hindu mythology and the legend of or the story of Asparas, which are like nymphs in Hindu mythology, and we follow Meneka. So Asparas are like the seductresses that I guess sent out by the king of the gods to go do his bidding in the mortal world. When he feels mortals are getting a little bit too big for their shoes, he sends a seductress to go bring them back to heal, which is like, you know what? I have a lot of thoughts on that, but you know what? I don't want to get sidetracked. That's why I make notes. You see, guys, this is why I started making notes for this podcast so I don't get sidetracked. So, the Legend of Meneka centers around Meneka, a beautiful and powerful Aspera, celestial dancer tasked by Indra, the king of the gods, with a crucial mission. Her assignment to seduce the powerful cage Kaushika, whose growing spiritual power poses a threat to Indra's dominion. What happened? Men get scared of other men and their power. They send a woman to do the job, pretty much. So the story kind of unfolds around Meneka. So Meneka is like, she's really she doesn't like what she does. And we kind of get that from the beginning. She's just come back from a mission and she's about to ask Indra to allow her to stay in the heavens and no longer go down to earth. She finds that every time she goes and does this, the king of the gods dirty job of seducing someone and literally like making them lose their mind with lust, it really is like the height of her power, that they think of nothing else, and which in effect cripples them and are unable to challenge like the gods or any gods, right? She if a piece of her soul dies while she does it. She doesn't think they deserve it, not in the way that the king of the gods thing. She kind of sees their humanity and she wants to stop. So she feels she's done this one last job. She's gonna go to Indra and she's gonna say to him, "You're gonna grant me a favor," because every time she like they're done, the aspirants are done with the job, they get granted a favor. And she's like, "He's gonna grant me a favor, and my favor is for me to stay. Like I want to stay. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I just want to be home. I want to stay in the heavens. I want to eat fruit and I want to dance and I want to hang out with my friends and just chill. That's what I want." So so our story kind of begins here. So she's sitting with Indra. She's about to make this request, and he's like, "No, you have to do one mission. If you can succeed in this one mission, then you can do whatever you want." So the story unfolds as like has to go down to earth, seduce Kaushika, get him to stop his little threat to Indra, and then she can live her life. But what happens, guys? This is it's a story about a seductress. What do we think is gonna happen, right? So she finds herself drawn to Kaushika, not because Kaushika is like this super like intense character. I mean, he is, but is the strength. Like he is able to resist her. Like he has all these walls put up. Like no matter what she tries, she can't get to him. But it's also his inner strength and his empathy for his people, the sages that is leading and training to use their magic and to kind of build something against Indra because he feel Kaushika feels that Indra has abandoned his people. And this really creates a powerful internal conflict. Like I really, so this is something I actually really like about the story is how conflict is so palpable. Like you can see even as the reader, because we the story is mostly told from her point of view, so you can see as the reader the suffering that she's kind of going through in terms of like what her duty is to her king and to her leader versus this person. But you can also see the places where she's justifying all these horrible things. You can also be like, girl, calm down. That's so not how this thing is playing out. And I really love that we the author allows us to really see this conflict play out firsthand. I also like that the narrative really explores like the delicate balance between like divine manipulation and genuine connection. Because this is also the thing, right? Where because of what Meneka is, being an aspera, she is a creature of seduction, uh, built for lust, right? That's how she describes herself at the beginning, or at least the way they kind of describe it to her. So it's so interesting to kind of see what is like manipulation and what is true connection between these two. And the way that we kind of showcase, the author showcases Meneka's struggles to kind of figure out her own agency and what has happened is really cool. I also like the more their relationship deepens, the stake rises, right? So it's like potentially there's going to be a war between the celestials and the mortals, and it will likely destroy the world if these people do this. But Meneka is being forced to choose. Like, does she stand with the celestials, the gods, her home, her people, or does she stand with the mortals? But also, it poses the question to me: is like, who are gods without mortals? Like, do they do does a god merit worshiping if there's no one to worship them? So I actually really thought that was a fascinating thing to think about. And like from a character point of view, there's so many interesting supporting characters here, but I don't feel we get enough time with them to truly delve into them. And I'm hoping book two we will really get to explore more of these supporting characters. But this book really, again, is Meneka. So we are at the core, we are watching Meneka's growth. We see some of Kashika's growth, but truly, we really this book focuses on this one character and this one character alone. Like she is complex and compelling. Initially, she's a tool for the gods, but as she evolves to become like a woman that grapples with her own desires, and this is also the thing, right? Like she like I said, she's a creature of lust. Like an aspera is a myth of like seduction and things like that. But I don't think Meneka before now actually really understood what her own desires were, what she wanted, and who she is. And the way we explore the storytelling here is like we begin to kind of see her journey of it's not just one of self-discovery as she challenges the expectation as the role of the divine, but it's also more a case of like, am I what more than what they say I am? And this is like I think this is kind of maybe something anyone coming of age or anyone in their teen years or in their early 20s or maybe even late into one's 40s. I don't know. I don't know what 40-year-olds think about. But as we grow older, no matter what age group we're in, it's a question we might constantly ask ourselves. Am I more than what people say I am? And if I am, what more am I? How much more is there to me? And I think we see a lot of that in terms of like Meneka and the way she thinks about her life. Like Kaushika as well, the sage, like he's literally like there is no creature more pious, more intense in their spirituality and their integrity than Kaushika. And I love that in his interaction with Meneka, the man is revealed, where the sage is all the people see, like all his followers, they see the sage. But in his interactions with Meneka, we see the man. We see the depth of him, we see his compassion, and we begin to add layers to this forbidden romance that they have. And Indra, the king of the gods, there is no one more vengeful than a selfish god whose ego rules him. That's really the truth. But he's really he's a picture of authority and manipulation because that's what he does. He manipulates, right? He represents the forces that seek to control Meneka and her destiny. And so the supporting characters, like I said, like the whether it be the celestial beings, whether it be the other individuals in the mortal world, they all seem to like their role is meant to like be puppetry around these central characters. But one of the things I like about the humans or the mortals is their ability to see beyond black and white. They also understand the kind of the in between and what more there should be, and it really contributes to the richness of the story. And also looking at like the motivation of Kashika's world and the people in it. So it's so fascinating. So I really love like that in the way the characters are positioned. I wasn't mad that we didn't get to explore a bit more on like the supporting characters, because I feel between Menaka, Indra, and Kashika, there was just so much, so much to go on, right? And also, aren't we the center of our own universes? Let's be honest. Um, I really like the world building, right? Like the story kind of takes place in the following three settings. So we have the celestial beings who live in the heavens and Indra's palace, and you know all the fun celestial things I imagine gods do, which is like run around and get drunk and dance and be happy and perform little miracles every now and again. And then we have Kashika's world, which is like this people who I imagine them just all living in this glade in the forest, trying to figure out life around them in their little huts. Because the way they really do describe them, and like, because Kashika has moved all these people to this place where they're training to essentially use their magic to fight the celestials, right? So they're like in this almost secluded little compound surrounded by forests and things like that. And but there's so much more than just like where we exist in the stories, is the way we exist in them. I think when I was thinking about the world building, I kind of wrote this as like the Legend of Meneka is set against the backdrop of rich Hindu mythology, imagined with a fresh perspective. The celestial realm, with its divine politics, intricate hierarchies, is vividly depicted, as as are the earthly things where Kashika resides. The author seemingly blends classical inspiration with original lore, creating a world that feels both familiar and new. The description of the celestial court and the serene ashram of Kashika contributes to the immersive atmosphere, drawing the reader to the heart of the myth. It really is like these worlds don't feel so apart from each other. The intrigues of the celestial court don't feel so different from Kashika's ashram and the simple life they lead, but also still trying to understand their role in what is to come. Um, I also really feel that if I were to think about the story and the thing that I love the most, right? Like I keep saying, like this is a story about Meneka. There's a scene where Meneka does what she does best, and it is a scene where she dances. So Indra comes to Earth. He's upset with her. He's angry because she's betrayed him by not, you know, easily like defeating Kashika, and by having doubts about what should happen between Kashika and the gods, and like almost choosing Kashika. And then as she kind of is trying to struggle with that, she and Kashika have a final confrontation where she tells Kashika the truth about who she is, that she's an aspira and she's been keeping the secret for so long, because Kashika's already like killed, they don't know, a couple of aspiras who've been sent before her. And it's like this moment where she feels completely broken. She's let down. This father figure, her king, her whatever, has abandoned her. The man she's in love with is angry at her. She's utterly alone. She cannot go back to the heavens. She cannot go back to the ashram. And she is sitting in this place, waiting. And in this moment of complete utter desolation and isolation, she encounters Shiva. And Shiva is sitting in this serene peace, and they have this conversation about everything that's happened. And he kind of hints to her, like, why do you have to be this one thing? Why do you have to be this creature of lust? Is that who you all you are? And there's a picture, and it's I really want to go research more on Hindu mythology, because I really love this picture where there's like this poison, this deadly poison that was released to the world, and order to save humanity and everything, Shiva catches this poison in his throat. And only a little bit of this poison is left, right? And that is supposed to be hidden in the kind of vault of Indra, but some of it accidentally got spilled, was meant for Kaushika. But anyway, so Shiva's holds this poison, has held this poison in his throat, in memoriam, right? And so she asks him, why don't you just swallow the poison? Because as soon as you swallow it, being the god of destruction or the destroyer, it will get destroyed. And he says, because my lady said not to. So I hold it because the world it is the balance of the world. The good must exist alongside the evil. And you have and it kind of gives her this moment to kind of think about who she is and what her existence is. So when she's kind of done in this moment with Shiva, she does what she does best and she dances, but she dances the story of Meneka. And I think this is where the character begins to learn about who she is beyond the confines of the celestial court and her love for Kaushika. And I really, really like that. Where she kind of just like holds space for herself. And where she thought Indra had taken her magic away because he's the giver of her magic, it's not, because her magic is her, it's innate in her. And she kind of begins to remember the story of the Apsaras, the fact that actually they were there before the gods. Like they're creatures of water. They were born of the sea and they chose to join the gods and serve the gods. So it's like this insane, beautiful thing. And naturally a war begins, right? So the Celestials are here, Kaushika and his people are here. Now it's a war. And they're in this insane war. And I love that Meneka and her kind of camp of the people who agree with her that this war should not exist and this should not, what's happening should not happen, begins like this whole thing where they are fighting, literally fighting to get people, to get both sides to come to some sort of conclave so they can resolve their issue. And I really, really like that. Her passion, which is dance, and which is a way she manifests both her magic and her sense of being, is the thing that almost begins to draw people to like a standstill to listen, so they can like discuss, right? And I really I thought that was so good in the way the writer does that. So yeah, so at its core, this book, it's about duty versus desire, the search for personal freedom, the power of genuine connection, because that's really it. What she was trying to find is, where's my genuine connection? It delves into the complexities of manipulation and the courage to defy expectations of oneself. And for me, the Legend of Meneka, it was just such an engaging read. I was just like, what is happening here? Like it's like everything about this character, I'm like, this is so wild. Um, and then I also kind of really love that, also the exploration of like some complex themes in the way they look at this classic myth. This is a story that exists in Hindu mythology, and the way she kind of retells it, I really, really like it. And it's also the fact that she wanted to hero the woman in the story. And when I was doing research after I read it and getting ready for the podcast, she felt like the story of Meneka was a footnote in the story of Kaushika. And she didn't think someone who could be sent with such a mission should be a footnote. So she gave her a new story. And I really, really like that. She gave her a new story. Um, and yeah, I thought like the idea of power, like exploring power and agency is just so incredible. And for me, it made it such a worthy read. So that is The Legend of Meneka. I hope you enjoy this episode. And if you have any more interesting books that are based off of like Eastern mythology, please let me know. As you know, like I mentioned Suli Tan's Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I've read a lot about, the stories around David with like Middle Eastern mythology. And obviously, I love African mythology because, more African stories need to be told. But please, please send me more of these voices that need to be heard more, because I want to read all of them. So find me on Instagram, Globe Mish. Find me on TikTok, Books and Sneakers. And let's talk more books that intrigue us, that inspire us, and show us the power of one's agency. See you next time. And we out.